Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a really easy low-carb keto bread recipe. It's my coconut flour, psyllium husk bread, and it's really easy to make. All you have to do is dump everything into a big mixing bowl or a food processor, blend it all up, smooth it up into a loaf pan, bake it in the oven, and you're ready to go. So this is something that you want to make, ahead so that you can have bread with breakfast or have a sandwich at lunch or even to have a slice of bread with dinner. So it's something that is an everyday recipe and you'll want to keep it on hand to enjoy anytime you're craving a little bit of bread. So if you guys are ready to get started, I'm ready to go and show you how easy this coconut flour psyllium bread recipe really is. So first of all, you're going to want to prepare a pan. If you don't have a silicone pan, I like to use a silicone pan, loaf pan. This is an 8 by 4 inch. And it makes it come out and release really easy. If you use a regular metal pan, you may want to line it up with parchment paper so that you can just lift the bread right out and it won't stick at all to the pan. So let's go ahead and see what's in this recipe. First of all, I like to start out with 6 tablespoons of whole psyllium husks. Now I like to use a kitchen scale to weigh it out. So 6 tablespoons is roughly 27 grams. I find that the weight measurement is much better than using, just tablespoons. So roughly 6 tablespoons, 27 grams. Next, you're going to have your warm water, and I use 3/4 cup of warm water. You can just take it out of the tap or you can warm it up on the stove. And that's really to start getting the psyllium to absorb, because the psyllium does absorb a lot of water, so you're going to want to have a lot of liquid in the recipe. Next, I've got a cup of coconut flour, and coconut flour I also like to weigh because it can vary. So 1 cup for me weighed roughly 125 grams. So I'd go with the weight measurement, 125 grams if you do have a kitchen scale. So 1 cup of coconut flour, and then 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, 3/4 teaspoon of sea salt. I like to use the pink Himalayan salt. You can use regular salt or sea salt. And then a pint or 2 cups of egg whites. Now I buy the egg whites in the carton to make it a lot easier so you don't waste the yolks, because then you're going to have to find something to do with the yolks. So that's 2 cups of egg whites. And if you use egg whites with the psyllium in the bread, it gives it a less eggy taste. So that's 2 cups of egg whites. And then you're going to want to add a couple whole eggs. I've got 2 whole eggs, 2 large whole eggs that I add. And then a 1/2 cup of olive oil. You could probably use another oil, but I use olive oil in mine. And this is a nice healthy fat to put into your bread. And then I do add coconut oil, and that's 1/4 cup of coconut oil. And I do liquefy it and melt it first. If you have the fractionated kind that's already been liquefied, you can go ahead and use that, and then you wouldn't have to melt it. But here in Connecticut, it tends to be solid because it's pretty cold. So I just pop it in the microwave to melt it up. And that's a 1/4 cup of coconut oil. Then you're just going to want to take your blender and whip it all up. Alright, it's pretty well blended at this time. Like I said, you can use a hand mixer, you can use a stand mixer, you can use a food processor to blend everything up. Now with psyllium, one of the things you will notice is that as it sits, it will get thicker and stiffen up. So if you were to let this sit in the bowl for a bit, it will turn into like a dough. But I'm going to just go ahead and put it in the pan. I've got my oven already at 350 degrees, so you want to preheat your oven first. I bake it for 45 to 55 minutes. You really just want to bake it until it tests done. You can put a toothpick in the center. Just make sure it comes out clean. So just dump that into the pan, and it's actually starting to thicken up already. And you could use a regular 9x5 pan, it just wouldn't be as tall. I like to use the, the smaller loaf pan just because it does result in a taller loaf. And it is thickening up into more of a bread dough than a batter, thanks to the psyllium. And then you'll just want to smooth it up, kind of shape it, you know, like a football, kind of. So it's a little taller in the center, and you'll just want to use a rubber spatula for that. And then just pop it in the oven. And you can keep an eye on it. Some people, when they make psyllium bread, they do like to take the temperature of it, but I just test it until it's done in the center. I'm going to go ahead and pop this in the oven, and in about 45 to 55 minutes, when the bread is fully baked, I'll be back to see how it came out. So, see you guys in a little bit. Okay, so the coconut flour, psyllium husk, low carb bread has been baking for about an hour now. I actually did take the temperature. It was about 185, so anywhere between about 180 to 200 is usually a good sign, because if you don't bake it fully, you could actually have some raw part in the middle, or uncooked, not fully cooked in the middle, and it could sink a little bit. So that's why a lot of people like to take the temperature before taking it out of the oven. So mine was at 185. It does feel like it's done, so I'm going to let it cool on the rack for 15 minutes, and then I'll be right back. So the bread has been cooling on the rack for about 10 to 15 minutes now, so I'm going to go ahead and pop it out. And I do like to enjoy my bread warm, so let's go ahead and slice it up. Or you can let it cool completely at this time, but I'm going to go ahead and slice it and see how it is. I really like warm bread straight from the oven anyway. And psyllium is, you know, nice and kind of glutinous, because it kind of gets stretchy, but it's pretty warm at this point because I haven't let it cool all the way. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. Psyllium bread is definitely one of my favorites, and if you're allergic to nuts, it's perfect because there's no almond flour in this one. I use coconut flour and a mixture of psyllium in this keto low carb bread recipe. It's made with coconut flour and psyllium husk, and I think you're gonna love it. I hope you guys give it a try, and that's it for today. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.